Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus, Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Just to say, there were no votes taken during closed session. Would you please stand and join me for a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin with good and welfare. And for anyone addressing the school committee this evening, please begin with your name and address. Your comments shall be no more than 5 minutes of speaking time and should be in good decorum. Please be aware that the committee cannot respond to you during good and welfare, but may direct you to an appropriate member of the administration team or may meet with you directly after the meeting for further discussion.
Is it on?
Yep.
Testing? Okay.
There we go.
My name is Melissa Bubble. I am at 650 3rd Avenue, Woonsocket. Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight not just as a community member, but as a parent who is deeply concerned about the direction our schools are heading, especially our high school. My son should be attending that school next year, and honestly, I find myself more anxious and scared than excited for him. It feels like every time I turn on the news or scroll through social media, there's another story about a fight, a weapon found in school, or yet another lockdown. It's heartbreaking and quite frankly frightening. When I went to that same school years ago, things were different. We had structure, enforced rules, and dress codes, strong support systems as well. There were teachers, counselors, and even disciplinary instructors who were consistently present and who generally cared about keeping us grounded. Somewhere along the way, we lost all of that. It feels like student safety has slipped into the background, and the excuse is always the same: there's no money. Maybe it's time to bring back the behavioral interventionists to help students regulate their emotions and manage their anger in a healthy way, especially when those lessons aren't always being taught at home. These BIs didn't just help teach the accountability and self-control and understanding, but they helped our students on another level that some teachers could not. We can't expect our kids to thrive in chaos. They need structure, guidance, and consistency. How can students focus on academics if they're anxious about what may happen after the bell rings for their next class? I know that feeling all too well. On another note, and I know I'm not the only parent struggling with this, I want to talk about the transportation for after-school programs, particularly those run through CCF. My son, like many others, is a bus student regularly to go to school. Picking him up after these programs has become nearly impossible, and the response we keep hearing is, again, there's no money. Some parents have to cut into their weekly budgets to pay for an Uber, a Lyft, or worse, let their kids walk home through potentially unsafe neighborhoods. These aren't dramatizations, they're real situations families like mine are facing. After-school programs are meant to help kids grow, stay engaged, and stay safe. Yet, by not providing transportation, we're putting unnecessary strain on working families and frankly, putting our kids at risk. But here's what doesn't make sense to me. If there's supposedly no money to fund programs that directly benefit our students, education, and mental health, how are we suddenly having 7% of the budget available for a brand new elementary school? Meanwhile, our existing schools, including this one, that are not even that old, are literally falling apart. We have leaking bubblers, broken fixtures, and unrepaired issues that have been ignored for years. We're told over and over there's no funding for basic maintenance, yet the approach seems to be let it crumble and we'll just build new. That mindset isn't just wasteful, it's discouraging for the students and teachers who spend every day in these conditions. I've attended several school committee meetings in other Rhode Island districts recently, and you know what stands out? Transparency and accountability. In those towns, committees clearly share their budgets at almost every meeting. They outline what needs fixing, and when money is short, they fundraise. They don't just throw up their hands and wait for the state to bail them out or apply for funding. They rally their communities, host events, reach out to local businesses, and take pride in maintaining their schools. They plan repairs for the summer so students come back in the fall to safe, functioning classrooms. That's the kind of leadership and teamwork we should be striving for here. Our children deserve better. Our teachers deserve better. Our community deserves to know where the money is going and why the issues right in front of us aren't being prioritized. It's time to stop saying there is no money and start asking, what can we do together to fix this? Because if we truly care about our children's safety and education, as well as their well-being and their future, we can't keep waiting for things to fall apart before we act. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee?
My name is Michelle Bloss. I reside at 217 Rock Ridge with both of my boys. My oldest son, Sebastian, goes to Woonsocket High School. He's part of the P-Tech program freshman year this year. While we anticipated that freshman year was going to be a little bit new and a little bit overwhelming, my son entered that school excited. During that course of the week where those fights broke out, my son was assaulted severely. My son got a dislocated left jaw and a fractured right mandible, to which he needed to have surgery within 14 days of that incident. My son has had his jaw wired shut for the past month, and his jaw wired shut the end of next month. My son was attacked without any kind of provocation, no warning whatsoever. And he is now currently healing. Just had a doctor's appointment yesterday to rewire his jaw because his wires broke, and is currently going to school trying to put his best foot forward. We came from the Providence School District where they let me down unbelievably, and when we moved to Woonsocket because we lost our home to a very bad fire, things were looking very good. My son became social. My son had a crew of friends flourishing in the Woonsocket School District. And so for him to enter his freshman year and have to go through a traumatic experience like that, and still continuing to hear that these fights are breaking out, it's very disheartening and it's scary. I ask my son every single day, are you okay going back to school? There are so many questions that I have for him, but he cannot answer them for me because he is only 15 years old and has had this very traumatic experience happen to him. I've been in touch with the mayor of Woonsocket, the superintendent, and as much as I appreciate all the prayers, nothing is changing. My son is consistently missing school because of the after effects of this assault. My son is losing weight because he's on a strict liquid diet, and I'm trying my best as a mom who works 40 hours a week at an animal hospital with a 10-year-old who is coming to the school next year. So it is very concerning, and all I want to ask is what is going to be done? Because this is no way that this should not be the way that my son enters his freshman year, in fear that if he looks at somebody the wrong way, he's gonna get assaulted. All these shelter-in-places, I get the emails almost 3 times a week at this point. And all I want is accountability. My son is suffering, and I need everyone to be held responsible because I'm doing my best as a single mother to help him right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee?
I'd like to say something. My name is
Everyone,
Alicia.
my name is Amy Costa from 135 First Avenue, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I'm also a school committee member, and I'm here to talk about the fights that have been breaking out. And I'm actually here to reach out to the parents, because let's just say it starts at home with the respect these kids need to learn. Respect at home first. Because when they come into a school and they start fighting and they do this, it's unfortunate. And unfortunately, kids that don't deserve to be in the middle of it get put in the middle of it. And it's very unfortunate, but it has to start at home. These parents need to be there with their kids and teach them the respect, and to teach them that school is a place to learn, not to be fighting. It is sickening to see all these fights go on, and we as a district have to keep getting blamed. It's not fair to us. These parents also need to have some type of responsibility as well. It starts with us parents. We need to be there and teach our kids right from wrong. If they don't know that and they go into a school, they're not going to practice it anywhere else because they're not doing it at home. Please, parents, be there for your kids. Teach them right from wrong. This is not fair. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Then we have parents that are driving their kids to these fights after school. Come on, parents, where are you? Where is your common sense sometimes? Really, this should not be going on. Our kids don't deserve this. Our teachers don't deserve this, especially the kids that want to learn, that are excited to go to school, and then have to suffer unfortunate circumstances because of what other children are doing. It's not fair. It's really not. And I beg these parents to please teach some type of respect at home before you send your kids into a school environment and think it's okay for them to be dangerous when they're here as well. Please, parents, do your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Thomas. I'm at 123 Baxter Street in Woonsocket. The first time I had came here, I had voiced my opinion, that the parents need to be held accountable for their children. I still stand to that, to today. The one thing that I want to add, I went and spoke with the principal of the high school. I understand, the whole thing about the church and state. I get that. But for me, as a minister of the gospel, that nothing is going to change in this, in the United States or in the city of Woonsocket until the Lord Jesus is brought back into the schools. Nothing is going to change. I spoke to, I'm not quite sure your name, sir, but as we were out there doing a prayer walk, he was out there with the news camera. And I had said that the schools need Jesus. And I'm going to stand by that they, that our children need the Lord Jesus. No matter how many people, may not agree with me, and that is totally fine. But nothing is going to change until, people start to acknowledge the fact that once he was taken out the school, once God was taken out of the schools, that things started to happen. The chaos. Every horrible thing started to come inside the schools because the Supreme Court took the Lord out of the schools. So y'all can try to do everything that y'all can. The parents can, try and hold their children accountable. But until, like I said, until Jesus Christ is brought back into the schools, nothing is going to change. And as of right now, I am taking my children out of the schools because I cannot afford for my child to, for me to go to a hospital and to retrieve my child from a hospital. Because I have, no hope in that the parents are going to train their child to raise their child the right way. And these children are unpredictable. They have no respect. They have no regard for anyone. But again, it starts at home, but then these children need Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Estelle Bubbles, 648 Third Avenue, Woonsocket. I've lived in this Woonsocket. I'm the fourth generation, and my kids are the fifth. I know some people are tired of hearing it, but what's going on now is worse what I had to deal with going to school and my children. Now, my grandchildren, I worry about them all the time. We need to have somebody walking the halls. Somebody has to take accountability. Because I had said when it happened to my daughter, and some of you up there already know, I was ready to go to a lawyer because this is unacceptable. People work, people put their kids in your hands, and nothing gets done. These kids still continue. Well, then I think you need the National Guards or somebody to walk the halls. Because I see that sign up there, have respect and get respect. Poor Mr. Nasuti must be turning over because it's not the schools that he would ever wanted. Somebody needs to be accountable. And it also starts at school because there's only so much a parent can do at home. Even for the good kids I'm talking about, not the kids that cause the trouble or the mothers that drive their kids to wherever to fight. No, if I had to, when my daughter was in school, I told her, I'll find somebody to walk you class to class, and I did. It was the principal of the high school. And the secretary was the one that brought her to the bathroom when she needed to go. That's the only way my daughter felt safe. Something has to be done. And I'll tell you, Joe Solano and Al Costa always is turning in their grave right now because none of this would never be happening. I know I was one of the people at the school that had to get rescued. With that being said, you up there, all of you, need to put something. Take the phones away immediately. Do what you have to do immediately. You're lucky somebody didn't even die at the schools with all this going on. That poor lady, my heart goes out to her. Anybody that has children that get hurt like that. Matter of fact, I know quite a few. I think they're gonna have to go see a lawyer or something because this is not acceptable. Not at all.
Sue.
Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Patrick McGee, Superintendent of Schools. I wasn't going to speak this evening, but I do feel compelled to say a few words. First, I want to, Mrs. Plass, we spoke, and again, I am very, very sorry for what happened to your son that day. That should never have happened. Just to get a sense of when we talk about accountability, we all have accountability. We do, including the parents. The student that did that assaulted your son, I can tell you when the principal spoke to the parent to let the parent know what happened, the parent yelled and screamed and swore at the principal because the parent felt as though their child didn't do anything wrong. That's the sense of what we're dealing with here. And I think it's a testament to society. It certainly is a testament to what's happening in this community. When you have a parent that does not take responsibility for what their child has done. And that's just one example. Somebody mentioned a few minutes ago situations where parents are, in some cases, grandparents, are driving their children to locations here in the city. Cass Park, here, between the two schools. Dunn Park, they're driving them to fight. These are adults, so-called adults. They're videotaping it. So when I talk about accountability, and again, we all should be held accountable. I don't disagree with you. But it's like we're shoveling you know what against the tide in some cases. And those are just a few stories. I mean, speak to any of our principals, and they've got more stories like that. The number of times that I've met with families and students who have engaged in fights and assaults with Mr. Quadros, and I mentioned this the last time I spoke. It's staggering. And it's not acceptable. This behavior is not acceptable. None of us disagree that this behavior is unacceptable. Again, I want the community to know that we are continuing to try to support the students who come to school who want to learn. Because the vast majority of the students at Woonsocket High School, Hamlet Middle School, and Villanova Middle School want to come to school, and they do come to school to learn. And their parents, like you, want the best for them. There is a percentage of students and families here in this community who unfortunately don't share those beliefs like you do. I can tell you that when we have these situations, and I've sat with our school department legal counsel, with our principals, to look at, especially since these incidents occurred at the high school, to look at, okay, let's take each situation separately. Do students have a history of discipline? Are they deemed a demonstrable threat? Because we can't just throw students out. We have to provide them with an education. Okay, now what that means is that we can't expel students. And a lot of people aren't familiar with that. There are rules, there are laws we have to follow. So we can't expel. But what we can do, and we're doing this, is we are establishing through investigating of these situations whether students are a demonstrable threat. Now, what's a demonstrable threat? It's a student who commits violent acts in our schools, has a history of it. In those instances, and we've started to do this, students that we believe are a demonstrable threat, we are offering the student and the family their due process rights, because legally we have to do that, which includes meeting with them, talking to them about what happened. And then ultimately we make a decision whether or not the student is suspended for short-term or long-term. We've made determinations with students this year, and we're going to continue to do this. If they are a demonstrable threat, they will be suspended long-term for the remainder of the school year. Some instances, students need supports we can't provide them, and it's typically behavioral supports. And it's not because we don't have enough BIs. I'd love to have more BIs. You're absolutely right. It's not. Some students require intensive mental health supports. We're not Bradley Hospital here, but oftentimes it feels like that's what we are. Those students, we provide out-of-district placements for those students. So again, I want the community to understand that we're not just sitting here doing nothing. We're not. No one in this room, no one in this community is more frustrated than I am as the superintendent. This is embarrassing. It's sickening. But make no mistake about it, this isn't just the Woonsocket Education Department. This is a systemic problem in society and in this community. And I'm not making excuses. I'm not. Because there are things that we certainly can do better. I'm the first one to admit that. But don't for a second think that this is just a Woonsocket High School problem or a Hamlet Middle School problem or a Villanova Middle School problem, because it just isn't. It would be easy if it were. But again, I want you to know that we are doing what we can, everything we can. Now, we can't, unfortunately, prevent every single thing from happening. When your son was viciously attacked, that happened like this in the lunchroom. There are staff in the lunchroom. There are administrators. There are teachers in the lunchroom, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't a situation where somebody recognized what was happening and could have come to intervene. And again, I am so sorry. When we spoke on the phone, we're going to do what we can, as I said, to support you and your son and your family completely. But the number of interventions, the number of mediations, the number of house visits, the number of meetings we've had with community members, with the Nonviolence Institute, to try to get out in front of some violence that's happening in the community. There are gangs in this community. You know, whether people know it or not or admit it or not, there are. And a lot of this extends beyond Woonsocket, and it spills into our schools. But please know that we're not just sitting by idly, waiting for the next shoe to drop. We are trying to be proactive, and when we can dismiss kids and remove kids from our schools, we're going to do that, because it is my job to keep all of our children safe. And I've met with parents. I met with Mrs. Thomas, who just spoke earlier this evening. We had a nice meeting. Kyle and myself and Mr. Ernest, the principal of the high school, had a really good meeting with her and her son. Wonderful son. And it was nice to hear from her son at that meeting that, in fact, he feels safe at the high school. He plays football, he feels safe, and that made us feel good. And we were talking about his classes, and in some classes that are using certain instructional practices, he feels really engaged. So I thought that was a positive meeting. But we also discussed Mrs. Thomas's concerns. And my door is always open to speak with and meet with parents. If you have input and feedback, I'll take it. I'm not here to hide anything from people. I'm really not. But this has to be a collaborative effort. This has to be a collaborative effort, including the parents, the schools, the community-based programs that we have, and we have many here in the city. And I can tell you, we meet regularly. We have a superintendent safety cabinet meeting that we've been meeting for 3 years. We meet regularly. We have a district threat assessment team that meets regularly to try to prevent some of these things from happening, not just react to them. So again, I wasn't planning on speaking this evening, but we need the support and the assistance and the help of everyone in this community, because this, trust me, this is not just a school problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee?
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Seeing and hearing none, we'll go into the approval of the minutes, and I'll make a motion to approve the September 24, 2025 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee, roll call, please.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the October 8th, 2025 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Abstain.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, we'll go into the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. I've got, in purchases, I'd like to take one item out for discussion and approval, and it's the last item. It is a request to purchase Yonder pouches to basically lock cell phones for our students in our schools, notably the middle schools and the high schools. We already have a cell phone policy that says cell phones are not allowed in school. The problem has been with some enforcement. We haven't seen district-wide enforcement. And districts other than Woonsocket who have implemented, who are using Yonder pouches to have students put their cell phones in during the day, they will be locked, they're magnetized. The students will carry their cell phones during the day, but will only be able to make use of them once they demagnify the pouches at the end of the school day. Those schools that do this have seen increased socialization. They have seen increased attendance. They have seen increases in scores. And frankly, it's been a better world for them. It seems to me that we've got to do something to make sure that cell phone usage is stopped in our schools, because we know that the social media, especially through the phones, could be contributing to some of the violence that we're seeing, where students either are having issues on their phones with other students, and whether fights are caused by that, and then they're videotaped. We've got to stop this. Now, obviously, the purchase of these pouches is step one, because that doesn't end there. Because before they can be used, the policy committee has to go through our existing policy to make changes in protocols, to make sure that the procedures are proper for students to actually put the phones in the pouches, and how it's going to be handled. And that's not going to be an easy thing. And the other thing that this leads to ultimately is not just students that will put their phones away, but teachers, parents, because we can't have students in their classrooms without phones, and then during the course of a classroom, a teacher uses the phone. Mm-hmm. That has to be also part of this. And I know there may be some gnashing of teeth. We may actually see torches and pitchforks. And that happened in those schools that adopted the Yonder pouches. But after a certain number of weeks, 3-4 weeks, things calmed down and they went from there, and they've got a much better school. So I really urge the committee to approve the purchase of these Yonder pouches. Does anybody else have any comments? Anyone?
What So the implementation process is going to be done after we purchase them.
Correct,
And then we still got to go through policy to make sure that everything's done properly.
correct.
So is it possible these won't be ready for this year?
I'm not sure about how long it takes to purchase and receive them, because I'm sure there are other districts that are using them, but the sooner the better. Mr. Notariani, do you have Dr. McGee?
So I think, first and foremost, we've discussed the Yonder pouches for quite some time, and there are pros and cons, and there are multiple opinions on it. Right now, we're seeking authorization to purchase them at this point in time because we're made aware of the fact that there's a 50% discount. So the quote is actually twice what you're seeing. The actual price to implement this is twice as much as what you're seeing here today, but we received the notification. And we're asking for approval because it's at a reduced rate and we can lock in at that price. Our intentions are to visit districts. Central Falls, I believe Providence have already implemented this. And our intentions are to visit those schools with our principals at the secondary level. This is for the secondary level right now we're talking about. Visit the schools in those other districts to see how the implementation worked. Find out what the best practice is from Yonder because they have multiple districts. Try and figure out any potential pitfalls to doing this, meaning that we've heard that there are ways around the locking mechanism and whatnot. And we want to learn for ourselves, what works in practicality, because you're absolutely right, Mr. Leclerc. How it's executed is where we need to explore. And I think it's a net positive if we can take the cell phones or the access to the cell phones out of the kids' hands. I think this is going to fall to the building principals and the staff there to execute. So I think it's important that we can look at the tool, get approval for the tool, but we need to get the teams, the building teams, the principals, assistant principals, and any key staff they want to bring and visit the schools and see how does this work? What's the best practice? What hasn't worked? So those are our next steps. But you're seeing the purchase before you this evening. And we're going to try and move quickly to at least explore the pitfalls and whatnot. But we want to make sure we get this before the committee to get an approval at this price rate.
I understand. My question was, do we think it's going to be ready for this year? Because the way you're describing it to me, it sounds like this is probably not going to happen in this current school year.
I think I can't.
I know it's arbitrary in a sense. I mean, we don't know for sure, but
Mr. Chairman? So,
McGee.
so Mr. Leclerc, I don't know. I know that there are, let's put it this way. I don't want to just rush this for the sake of rushing it. I think that I've always been a proponent of using some type of a pouch or device. But this is going to be something that, if it's done properly, is going to take a little bit of time. And I don't want to just rush it for the sake of rushing it. I don't like to operate like that. So there are a lot of steps that need to happen before it's implemented. Certainly, I want to get some feedback and input, from a variety of groups, parents, students, teachers and staff and administrators. We're doing this, but again, I want to make sure that it's going to be done in a way where we can be successful, because there are other districts that do this, and as Mr. Notariani said, we're going to be speaking with other districts about how they implement it, how they went about implementing the rollout, so that it's successful here. So I can't answer that question, maybe, but I don't know. But I can tell you, there are certain subcommittees that this is going to need to go through. Policy, being one. I think another one is our climate, safety and climate subcommittee, and just to get their input and their feedback, because this would become part of the cell phone policy here in the district. So those are some things that we need to do first, and then ultimately it's going to obviously come to the school committee. But so I don't know. My long-winded answer is I don't know. It won't happen anytime soon.
all right. That was my concern. I didn't want it to be rushed to begin with, so I wanted to make sure. I know it's not in place, but you're going to have mechanisms there that'll vet this out before we just implement it. And that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, we're not going to just
Okay.
all of a sudden, start this without a real plan in place as to how this is going to work.
Thank you.
But it's not going to
One-
be with
sorry.
unnecessary delays. I mean, we're going to follow the steps as expedient as possible so that we can get this policy up as soon as possible, but with all the
Yeah.
i's dotted and t's crossed.
Right.
Right.
I-
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, wait a minute, Mr.
first-
Leclerc, you had more?
Yeah, I wasn't done yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
My other issue is relative to finance, and I know our finance director is not here. Where are the funds coming from for this?
So one thing I know about Mr. Perrier is he is he's conservative, and he, before we even enter into any whether it's an agreement or certainly a purchase, the funds are located. So we do have some room within the budget where we can make this purchase. And again, as Mr. Notarianni said, we're in a position right now where we can make this purchase at 50% off. So, that's why we're looking to do this now and not wait, till the January or the end of the school year. So that's why we're looking to do this now. So we'll have them,
Understood.
and then we can start the implementation.
I'm in favor of this. I think this is going to be a fabulous thing, but I just wanted to get a few questions answered, and I didn't really, but I'm satisfied. But at some point, we're going to get some kind of information where the money came from. Is that correct?
Of course.
All right,
Of course.
Vice Chair Burke.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
You all set?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Burke.
I do believe that the Yonder pouches will be an effective solution, but it's not an immediate solution.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Problems that we have are right in front of us right now. So we can't say, oh, we're going to buy the Yonder pouches. That's going to solve our problem. That's months down the road.
Yeah.
So I do hope that there are some measures in place that are trying to attack the problem right now. Like enforcing the policy that we already have, enforcing the policy that cell phones are not allowed. I know it's difficult, please, I do know how difficult that is, but I do hope there are some other things in place to address the problem right now, because the Yonder pouches are going to be a solution down the road.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Burke. And whenever it is implemented, we have a policy now, and I can tell you, and again, I'm transparent. I don't try to sugarcoat things and say it's wonderful, and if it's not wonderful. And I can tell you that from my observations, being in the schools, and if you start at the middle school, there are the process by which the middle school adheres to that policy. You don't see very many kids around the middle schools with their phones. Does it happen? Yes, it happens. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but the enforcement is very good. At the high school, it's not. And I'm not, disparaging any teachers or staff, but there are some staff who are very stringent, and I'm not going to ask her to speak, but we have our high school representative, and I'm sure she sees it. There are some classes where the cell phones aren't out, they're put away, and then there are other classes where they're not. And that's a problem. And I'm not blaming the teachers. I'm not saying that problem rests solely on the teacher's shoulders. It doesn't. But there has to be enforcement of a policy if you have a policy. So yes, it's going to continue. Mr. Burke, when I visit the schools, I have conversations with the principals, and I'll say, I went into this classroom and phones were out, and that's up to the principal to have a conversation with the teacher to make sure that the teacher is following that policy. And on the flip side, if I go into rooms and I see that student, they're waiting, and I'll tell the principal, hey, went in there and it was great. Students were engaged, students were communicating with one another, students were not on phones. So yes, very good point. It's not a panacea. We still have to, enforce the current policy that we have.
Anyone else? Ms. Kepiscus?
Mr. Chairman,
Been
I'd like
waiting
to
for you.
address that. Well, I knew you were. As you know, you have appointed me to two of the most not fun subcommittees of the school committee.
But you begged me for them.
Right. Two of the three, I serve on committee, I chair curriculum, I chair policy, and serve on school climate only because I said I would agree to do it if I wasn't made chair. But essentially, in two of those committees, we have discussed yonder pouches ad infinitum. Pluses, minuses, do they work, do they not work? All the lovely ways around them. My son has a list, just like he has a list of all the weapons you could get by a metal detector for those who think that's the panacea to
Please don't
solve all
share
our
those.
problems. I'm not going to share the list.
Thank you.
No, I've already told my son, this is going to be your side gig. You're going to go in and teach other kids how to break these yonder pouches. I'm just kidding. My son would not do that. But essentially, anybody go on TikTok and figure out how to bypass these pouches. My concern is and I said this at the last district school climate, whatever we call it, meeting that I was able to attend. I missed the last one. Part of my job is to be fiscally conservative on behalf of the district. My concern is, why are we putting the cart before the horse? We're buying the pouches at the cost of $50,000. We don't yet have a policy where we've agreed to use the yonder pouches. We haven't agreed, even discussed the finer points of, are they going to be in the pouches all day? Where will the pouches be? Are they allowed to take the phones out of the pouches at lunchtime? How are we going to control the traffic flow in and out of the building when a student has to lock it at a magnet point, unlock it at a magnet point? We have an awful lot of students going in and out of one high school. We're one of the few urban districts that has one high school. We have one high school with a huge population. And I think we can all agree that's where a big part of the cell phone problem is coming from. Not that it isn't in the middle school, and don't delude yourselves, it's in the elementary schools as well. So my issue is putting the cart before the horse. Nobody bothered to tell policy or school climate, unless it was at the last meeting that I couldn't attend because I'm a lawyer and I actually had a bar meeting that day. But I don't know whether or not it was addressed before those subcommittees. And I also think you're assuming this is going to be a slam dunk to get through. And I don't think it necessarily is. Yes, the unions are pulling for this, but I can tell you there are also some equally vocal parents that are very opposed to this particular proposal. And it's kind of being sprung on everyone, in my opinion, buried in purchases. Unless you read purchases carefully, you didn't know it was there. And I didn't particularly like that. But I'm not saying it's a bad idea, don't get me wrong. But I don't think we're going about it the right way. I understand there's a sale, you want to take advantage of the sale, but that's like buying the size 8 shoes when you wear a size 10 because they were on sale. We don't even know if we can use the yonder pouches right now because we don't have a policy. And we haven't ironed any of that out yet. And you're right, we've been arguing about it here in subcommittees for at least 2 years, at least, probably before that. But that's my only concern, and I just want to express it. That's all I have to say right now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we're asking for authorization for the purchase order this evening. The sale is till the 14th of November. If the committee is more comfortable, there is one more meeting between then. We can do some more investigating.
I don't think there is.
I don't think so either.
I thought there was
One
one.
meeting in November, it's on the 19th.
My apologies, Chairman. So there isn't. But the purchase order does, while approved here this evening, does not need to be issued. It just avail us the opportunity over the next several weeks to conduct more exploration. We could go back to a subcommittee, report out, but the purchase order does not need to be, it doesn't need to convert from a requisition to a purchase order. I'm not the finance director. If I don't have the terminology right, I really wish Brad was here. But this is the authorization to move forward with it. It does not mean the purchase order needs to go out. It doesn't mean it's going to go out tomorrow morning. If the committee is more comfortable, we could just say, the administration doesn't have to issue the purchase order tomorrow. We can start doing the exploration between now and the 14th of November. If the committee's not comfortable in not approving it, we can still explore all of it. Just know that it will be twice the cost, which is why I believe Mr. Perry has the requisition or the purchase on the agenda this evening, because it was at such a reduced rate. Everything Mrs. Kapiskas said is absolutely valid and true. This has been an ongoing conversation.
Let me address 2 points. I don't want to wait on the order. It's here. We're saving on it. But I can tell you what's different between now and 2 years ago, Mrs. Kapiskas. We haven't had this kind of violence, identified violence, within a span of a month. I think this is going from a back burner where we can have a theoretical discussion as to the proper use of these pouches, how we're going to limit cell phones. I think this takes on a new importance, in my opinion. And that's why I am definitely for this. Let's make sure we check with other districts. Let's see best practices. Let's adopt best practices. And I think then we go to the committee. It's a whole different world. I mean, I never thought we would wake up on a Monday morning and have 13 students arrested. And then it continues. And this week we got 4 more. We're up to 21. And someone's taking score. I don't want any more. I want to have the best deterrent we can have in our district. And I agree with Vice Chair Burke. This is not going to be a panacea. It's not going to cure everything, but it's an element, in my opinion, that's needed. That's my 2 cents.
I know I've spoken, but may I respond?
Of course.
My response is that, don't misunderstand me. I'm not opposed that we need something more to curtail the use of cell phones in our schools. And I agree it has to be across the board, students and staff. You can't tell the student, lock your phone away while the teacher's standing there on their phone. It has to be everybody. And I know there's going to be problems about that because phones don't work in some of our schools and need to be able to have the phone to be able to call 911 if they need to. That's fine. I get that. No one's forcing the teachers to put them into the Yonder pouches. In fact, I doubt we're going to be able to purchase enough Yonder pouches for all the staff as well. There's going to be some trust element with the adults that work in the system that the phone belongs in your purse or your pocket. I don't want to see it. And the student shouldn't see it, barring an emergency. That's different. However, I just want to emphasize, I'm not saying that they're not a potential part of the solution. That's not what I'm saying. I just want people to understand that there's going to be opposition to it. There's going to be opposition from parents and families, because if you don't believe that, people share social media posts with me all the time. All the keyboard warriors are all over the whole cell phone ban. You're not going to tell me my child can't have access to their $1,000 phone. I get that. I agree with you. The phones need to be locked up. That's not why we're at school, and they're absolutely being used for the wrong purposes in our schools. No questions about that. But I would prefer that we had everything in place before that. If I knew that we were actually looking at Yonder pouches, I would have made sure we started that discussion again in policy to hopefully have something in place, or at least have an idea of which direction we're going, to potentially have a policy in place. My goal would have been by December. So maybe when we come back in January, we can come back with Yonder pouches. But that isn't the way it's working out. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying I would vote against the purchase. Don't misunderstand me. I just want people to realize it's an uphill battle with some families. Understand that. And as soon as you say staff, phone in your pocket, that's going to be an uphill battle too. But I think that's only fair. I just don't feel comfortable bringing it up when we don't yet have a plan of how it's going to all go down. That's my issue. I'm not saying don't do it. Don't misunderstand me. Please don't anybody misunderstand me.
No.
You've got to do something. But I just don't like the way this is out of order.
I agree with you, Lynn. So I don't think like the way it came about either, but as you stated, this is going to be a great tool and I think we should use it. But I don't like the process either. It should have been more transparent. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Agreed.
Any other discussion on this item? Then let's take this item separately from the rest of the consent agenda. So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the Yonder pouches as described in the packet that we received. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa and Mr. Leclerc. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the remaining items in the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa and Mr. Leclerc. Any discussion on those items? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, we'll go into communications, and I'll ask Fatima to give us your report.
Good afternoon, everyone. As everyone knows, my name's Fatima. I'm one of the student representatives at Woonsocket High School. Unfortunately, Natalie couldn't make it today. She has her senior night for girls volleyball, so she couldn't miss that.
Sure.
But to get started on what's been going on at our high school, in our classrooms, teachers have been recognizing students for their efforts and improvements with shout outs. Students have been engaging, working together, and staying focused. We also have around the district Nova notices going around. Those have really been helping. I feel like students have been trying to do better to receive them, which I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions, but it's been making a change slowly in our community. The Nova notices show responsibility, respect, and safety, of course, which keeps the building in a positive school culture that is slowly spreading into our community. Slowly but surely it'll happen. Parent-teacher conferences were held recently. A lot of families came out. It was a great chance for them to check in, talk about progress, and set goals going forward, especially for the seniors. Parents need to know what's happening after high school. Our sport teams have been doing pretty well. There's been some wins, unfortunately some losses, but of course the teamwork, the working together, everything is in place and they've been doing really well. Also, our high school fall sports, they went to Burnham Elementary School. They just went there. It was like a high five day. They showed some Nova pride, spoke with them, just had a fun time with them, which was really good and inspiring for the younger students. And finally, this week is our Spirit Week, HOCO weekend. We've had a Spirit Week going on. Today was Dress to Impress. Tomorrow's Generations Day. And of course, Friday is our pep rally day. So we're going to be dressing in our class colors. We have our homecoming this Saturday, homecoming game this Friday. And we also have the pep rally this Friday, which is good to spread Novan pride and a great time for us, especially the seniors, to talk to our lower classmen, give them advice, just, have a great time with each other. But yeah, that's all that's been going on. Hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Oh, by the way, what kind of dressing? Oh, dressed for success or to impress?
Dress to impress. So basically, you're just gonna come in wearing your best clothing. We had teachers in suits and ties, students in suits and ties, dresses. Just everyone was all flashy today.
Oh, that's
Neat.
funny.
That's great.
That's
Very
awesome.
good.
Thank you very much. I'll make a motion to receive and place on file our report from our student representative. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, I'll ask Dr. McGee to give us your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My personnel matters update. We currently have 17 paraprofessional positions that are still vacant. Again, I say this each time I report out, and that number gets a little bit smaller, which is good. But I know that, Mrs. Morel and her team are working hard along with the administrators and directors to try to fill, as well as the Human Resources Department, try to fill these positions as quickly as possible. And we have 8 teaching positions across the district
Okay.
that are vacant at this point. You also have on your agenda, you have a list of staff that we have most recently hired. So that is personnel matters. Any questions at this time regarding personnel matters?
No.
If not, I'll move on to my second item. That's perfect student attendance for the month of September. So, we often hear of unfortunately, the negative things out of the district. One of the things that I always say is that there are more positive things happening here in the Woonsocket Education Department across the district at every school. One of those is attendance, and we have a strong push for attendance. We reach out to families regularly to ensure that students are attending school every day and are on time. And I'm happy to announce that each of our schools have a number of students who have received perfect attendance for the month of September. I'm just going to name the school and the number of students from each school who have perfect attendance for the month of September. Vernon Heights, 112 students, perfect attendance. Coleman, 77 students. Globe Park, 113. Harris, 161 students. Pothier Citizens Elementary Campus, 226 students. Leo Savoy Elementary, 167 students. Hamlet Middle School, 114 students. Villanova Middle School, 259 students. And the Woonsocket High School and Woonsocket Area Career and Technical Center, 276 students. It's interesting because when a few weeks ago when I spoke to Ms. Blaze about recognizing our students across the district who have perfect attendance, my hope was to invite them here. And as you can see from the numbers that I just listed, I think we would violate the fire code if we did that, unfortunately. So I thought the next best thing would be to just notify you and the community of positive things that are happening. And we have a lot of students and a lot of parents and families who come to school every day on time, and they want to do what's right. And I want to commend all of those students and their families for putting their education first. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. Any questions for our superintendent? Good. Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Leclerc, I'll ask you to give us the district-wide school climate committee report.
The committee met on 10/14 at 4 o'clock. We approved the minutes from the previous meeting. We got a report from the elementary schools on this, some concerns. Some parents are not going to the office at Harris School. Instead of going to the office at Harris School, they're going right through into the school. So they're going to look into that and address that. The one-to-one staffing has been below 5 vacancies at some of the schools, well, at one school. At this point, there's 10 new applicants that came in, so some positions are being filled as we speak. There's also some one-on-one contractors. There were some issues with those relative to what their hours were, because some aren't using the hours they're supposed to. So, but they were told that the hours are there, and they have the same exact hours as the other one-on-ones, and they should be addressed also. Questions are asked about the behavioral de-escalation rooms, whether or not, what the status on those. Dr. McGee's awaiting feedback and suggestions from some of the initial group that we met. So there's still some movement on there. In the meantime, Dawn Morrell and Special Education Director Kyle Quadros, nope, vice versa. Dawn Morella, Special Education Director, and Kyle Quadros, the Director of Social Emotional Learning. They have implemented some type of program at Leo Savoy that's supposedly doing very well. They're going to have them brought into the next meeting so they can have some explanations or some questions that can be answered to the board that we when we met. Globe is down 3 teachers, and the subs are not being picked up. So but they're still down 3 paraprofessionals also. With the recent gun issue at the school, the Alice training is progressing really well at Globe, so they're working on that to update the students. It's also going on schedule at the rest of the district also. Dr. McGee stated there were 3 more BIs that were hired. Funding's been found through Title IV, and they're just looking to place them in certain schools, and that hasn't been determined yet. The report from the middle schools. At Hamlet, there are building issues related to cameras, intercoms, phones, bathrooms, lights, and heating issues. Some of these have been around for a few years, and it's just a matter of funding. And also some are being implemented now where the phones are being implemented, the intercoms are being worked on. Just a matter of getting to each school.
Sure.
So, yep. And then it's also relative to some funding issues and some staffing issues on how they have to have the staff be able to put those in play, have those implemented. Villanova has some of the same issues, and they're being looked at, like we stated earlier before. Report from the high school and WAC Tech. There are some phone and intercom issues too, but those are also being looked at, and they're being implemented slowly throughout the district. So there's some of the same concerns. Alice training is ongoing in the school also, and then that's looking in good shape at the high school and WAC Tech too. One item that was mentioned is to foster better communication between the high school and administration and teachers with the all-staff meeting, which has been spoken about before here. This will be looked into further, but Mr. Ernest, the principal, has some, he's been doing some meetings with department heads, with some of those issues can be ironed out there.
Okay.
Another issue that was brought up was maybe having practice lockdowns and also use of metal detectors that would solve some of the issues. But those we've discussed before in some of the meetings, and we're looking at those also. The SRO training for the high school is, in general, some of the new hires, or over 50 new hires, have been trained. It's rolling out to students currently to the district, and they're looking to get some voluntary staff training and see if they can get more people done, and also have some facility members done, so it's district-wide. They're also looking to purchase some new supplies for the buckets that are in relative to the SROs in each school.
Oh, sure.
For that, and then the next meeting date is 11/18, and we adjourned at 4:49.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions, comments? Ms. Kepiscus?
Mr. Chair, I wasn't there, but I just want to make sure you're aware, on November 18th,
Yep.
I have policy, so one of
Okay.
them's going to have to be moved.
That's fine. We did not discuss cell phones at that past meeting, just to make you aware.
Nor did we discuss them at policy, but I've just reached out to Caroline and told her to be prepared on the 18th. We're talking about it.
All right.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. LaCour? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the district-wide school climate committee report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There'll be no financial update this evening, but we will have one in November. We have one item in new business, and I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the amendments to the student teacher / intern policy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Who do I turn this over to? Mrs. Kepiscus?
I guess. Essentially, we discussed in policy, it was brought to our attention by Ms. Kitchen, that the Attorney General's office will not do national BCI checks on student teachers and other interns who are coming into our schools to do field work, et cetera, because the statute doesn't provide for national background checks for them, only for employees of the department, because they are not being paid, they're not considered employees, and they cannot do the national background checks. As a result, we had to amend our policy to provide that it's just a state BCI.
See?
So Ms. Kim and I made corrections to the policy today, and the policy before you says
Right.
state as opposed to national. That is the only change in the
Okay.
policy.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Having no other items on our agenda, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:10 PM. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.